Hello everyone, welcome to my channel where we make easy painting tutorials. And for this video I already went with a little sketch I laid down in normal graphite pencil a couple of days ago. There will be a reference to just the sketch on my Instagram linked in the description box. And I start by taping down my paper with masking tape to make sure it stays flat on the surface as I paint. And I start by applying bright yellow, I believe this is cadmium yellow, to the top right corner. I'm using these diagonal motions so I get the idea of light coming from that side, and the opposite, the bottom left, is going to be my darkest, so I switch to a darker yellow. I just proceed using whichever is the darkest shade in my pencil set in my palette. I use yellow ochre, which is the next in line, and obviously you can use whatever yellows you have in your set. You can even just make maybe a pink to purple transition. You can make bright green to dark green. And this piece is actually inspired by one of my very first videos I made on this channel, which was a very similar concept. I add a bit more of my bright yellow where the yellow ochre is, so it transitions smoothly. And then I proceed to use darker burnt sienna, I believe is the name of this color, and finish it off with walnut brown, which is the darkest brown I have. For the bottom corner, the very little space I have left, I'm just going to fill that up with some black, so it also gives the idea of both shadow and also a bit of ground. I take my watercolor brush and I blend from lightest to darkest using diagonal motions. This way I keep the direction in which I applied the pencils. And I go over several times to make sure that everything is blended, that there are no harsh lines. You can obviously use a normal painting brush for this with a wooden handle on in a jar of water. There's absolutely no problem with that. The only reason I use these, which have a small reservoir of clean water in them, is because I don't really have space for a glass of water on my desk. It's a very small foldable one I got from one of those furniture shops, kind of like IKEA. And by the way, all of the supplies used will be listed in the description box, so you can always find a full list under each of my videos. I add a bit more of the pencils where it ended up being a tad bit lighter than what I wanted to do, and to do that I take the actual pencil and I rub a bit of it on the tip of my brush and then apply it to set areas. I was having a bit of difficulty to blend this one for some reason, to be honest. I've always used the same pencils, the same paper, and sometimes it just happens. We don't always get 100% the same results, or satisfying results for that matter. I blow dry it quickly with my hair dryer on low heat settings, so I don't have to wait. You can obviously just let it air dry for 15-20 minutes. And then using my black pencil, I go over the initial sketch I had laid down of some grass/flowers to the left side and some butterflies flying around them. I just color the initial shapes and then fill them in with the color. If you have difficulty using the black pencil from the set, you can just use a normal pen. You can use a fine liner, a brush tip marker, whatever you have on hand and whatever feels comfortable to you. For these flowers, they're very simple. I just made some straight lines across the page, and then a couple of leaves here and there, very random with a very shaky slash zigzag line to keep it simple and also give it a bit of interesting feeling to it. For the flowers, I just used half a circle shape and then a bit of a zigzag line to give the idea of petals. And for the butterflies, I just went with very basic shapes. The only thing is I wanted them to be flying in different directions from different angles. So for some I made one side smaller than the other, so it gives the idea that they are not perfectly in front of us, if that makes any sense. And I'm also applying the pencil rather thickly when coloring in these shapes. That way I don't have to go over and activate with water later on. It's just good as is. You can obviously just use a bit less pressure and use a finer brush to activate them if that's what you prefer, if you prefer a smoother look to them, but I just like it the way it turned out to be. I make the stems a bit thicker to the bottom, and then I take the browns and yellows I used in the beginning, I rub my brush against them, and then I splatter over the background. I add the yellow ochre where my bright yellows are, and a bit of that burnt sienna towards the middle point and a bit to the bottom. That way it just ties up the whole painting better, in my opinion, and makes it a bit more interesting and gives a bit more character to it. Lastly, I sign using the white pencil and I take off the tape in the opposite direction. I was having some struggles with this. This is a brand new roll of tape I got from the hardware store, no specific brand whatsoever, and because of that I ended up using my hair dryer again on low heat settings because the heat breaks the glue much easier and it typically comes right off with very little force being needed. I hope you liked this video. Please let me know and we'll see each other in the next video.